How many times you do this? You do it a couple times just to make sure that everything is okay. There was no gaps or things, so everything is all seated together. So now my calibration is done for my load deformation. I have the characteristic curve for the machine calibration. I have about 0.03 inches of deformation of the machine when we apply 32 TSF. 32 TSF, that translates to about 2,500 pounds. When you apply, that's the weight of a small car. Then this frame deforms 0.03 inches. And that's going to be taken out from the deformation of the soil when we put the soil. So this is done now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the load, take the cell, put a sample, and we get it going. And if we have time, we can do the triaxial. Okay? All right, so we can stop that. So now what I'm going to do, keep going now. Now that this is done, we have our machine deformation done. What I'm going to do, I'm going to close. We'll just close it. And I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to save it. Now, I save the file with this information now in it, and this is my new template. The template has the machine deformation already, and that's another reason when you run a test, you load this template. Right now, you only have one template. But once you start running tests, you can use a test as a template for the new test. Okay? So I'm closing here as I saved it. Okay, right now, I'm just going to show you how we're going to set our consolidation sample. The sample is already trimmed in the ring. You follow the ASTM standard how you trim the sample in the ring. Basically, you have a chunk of the soil that comes out of the Shelby tube and disturbed soil. And use the ring as your cutting device. So you start from top like that, push it down, have like a plate so it's pushed uniformly, and trim the soil as you go down until the soil fills up the ring. And then once you're done with the trimming, you trim the ends, make sure everything is all trimmed nicely. And so you have a 2.8, for this particular case, diameter sample by 1 inch. And the next step is to take the weight of the ring and the soil, which you're going to enter in the software. Now, you want to make sure that your porous stone is wet so it does not suck in the water from your soil. And you got your this is a filter paper. Make sure also is wet, like your top porous stone. So you got your filter paper right there, and the porous stone. You got the centering ring. You hold it in place here. Make sure that everything is okay, it's centered. I'll put that one first. Tighten by hand. And now take your sample, put it, set it up here. Again, you don't have to be in touch because software will automatically make contact. Now what you need to do is have water ready, regular water, because the standard says the first minute of the test you add water. So we're going to be adding water. Again, the menu doesn't have to be in any particular menu here except for jog. So I'm going to go back to my software, and I'm going to load the consolidation software, load my template file, all the relevant information to this particular soil sample. Then the initial weight, specific gravity, any other information, water content, information about the water content initially. Now, I'm going to go over the specific of the software. Right now, I want to get this test going, so we'll have data tomorrow, but we'll have the projector, and we'll go over the software tomorrow and explain all these different things here. Is a standard sequence that I already have here on my template. I can change it now. I can change it during the test too, if I want to. I can change anything as long as I'm not in the step. While the test is running, I can change units. I can change anything I want. Everything is okay. The power on, switches are off. I'm ready to go. This is a test that typically, when you run it manually, the old-fashioned way, it would take you. What people do, use method A in the ASTM standard, and it takes 24 hours per load increment. And if you're doing 13, which we're doing here, 13 load increments, that means this test will take you 13 days to complete. And as a result, because it's so time consuming, a lot of labs I've been to, and I can show you pictures if you have time, you see 40, 50, 100 of these banks because they take so much time. But that's how they do it, I guess, the old-fashioned way. We use method B, which is the end of the primary, and these 13 steps, this test will be done tomorrow morning when we come in. Why? Well, first of all, this soil is not very plastic. I can see it here. It's got some fine sand, some silt in it, so it's going to consolidate pretty quickly. And second of it is not, I put my minimum duration as 30 minutes. I have 13. That's 6.5 hours. It should be done in about 6.5 hours. If somebody wants to come in the middle of the night put another sample, that's fine too. But if you work in a private sector on the weekends, people switch it over. So they come on the weekends and then make a switch over of the soil. So you got extra tests done between Saturday and Sunday.
For some reason it takes more than 30 minutes to reach primary consolidation.
It will automatically, I put the maximum 24 hours.
Okay, so the machine's actually checking for primary consolidation.
Yes.
More than the time?
Yes. The deciding factor is the maximum duration for each step. And the maximum duration I put in is 24 hours. So no matter what, it won't go over 24 hours. But no matter what, it will stay for 30 minutes. Even if it takes 5 minutes to consolidate, it will still, and I can change that. If I see it is only taking a few minutes to consolidate, I can change my minimum duration. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do a run, start. Different name. Now, this is very, very important. And I will be mentioning it again and again and again. The test runs automatically. The data is automatically recorded. At the end of the test, you do not need to save the file. The data is already saved. People who have this equipment the first time, that's a very common mistake. At the end of the test, they say, I'm going to save it. And what they do, they overwrite it, and I got all that dreadful call. I lost my data. That's the only time you lost the data, by overwriting it, because people are not sure what it's doing. So no need to save. If you need to save anything, do save as, because you're going to put the information of the water content, which is not available now after 24 hours, and you save it as. Those files are tiny. They are 26, 30 kilobyte. You can have 1 million tests here, and you're not going to clog up your hard drive. So save the original. Always keep the original the same. When you do any modification, save it as. So again, so it's going to make contact. The other thing is, you want to have a sequence or some kind of way of naming your files, so it will be easy to retrieve them. This is just making contact there. It's pretty much in contact. Now, this is my first stress on, and I'm going to add water. If this test is going to run for 2 weeks for whatever reason, you want to put some plastic wrap so it doesn't lose water, unless you're here to replenish the water. Now, I go into view, test graph. So it applies the load. This is like your dead weight that you put in on the soil sample there. So it applies the load and is keeping track of the deformation of the soil. And it does also deconstruction here in real time to find the T100. So all this information is available here. Now I don't have to touch it. The test is going to run by itself from beginning till the end. So basically, in the middle of the night, it will be done. So when we come back in the morning, we'll have our data and the test. This video clip is going to talk about the end of the incremental consolidation. We had a test that ran overnight, and we put 13 steps. We're using method B, ASTM standard, where every step ends at the end of the primary consolidation. So the test is done, and I know that when we came this morning, there was a message on the screen saying test finish. I say okay. Now what you need to do to look at the results is to go to file. You cannot go to report. So there's one step before that. You go to file, and you're going to load or reload the same test that we run, and you open it. Now you have refreshed all the information on the screen. Then you go to report, graph, and you're going to see your time curves for the 13 steps. And you scroll through all these steps here. Make sure that everything is okay. 5, 4, 3, 2. This is summary curves. This is my plot of either displacement, vertical strain, or void.